Hey folks, and welcome to iWizard. So it's been a long time since I've made one of these videos, but here we are. I'm going to introduce my summer and fall TBR. I know I'm known for deviating from what I've said that I'm going to read many times because I am a mood reader, but I'm telling you this right now, I am going to stick to this list come hell or high water. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back. Jordan here. So I've long said that I like evergreen content and that I want to make videos that aren't ephemeral and that will last. Videos you can watch 5, 10 years from now and they'll feel just as valuable and interesting as they were when I put them out. And so I've never really been one to make TBR videos because one, they're kind of time sensitive. You're not going to go today and watch a TBR video that I made 2 years ago. But two, I'm very much a mood reader also. And so in the past, every time I've tried to make a TBR, I've failed to stick to the list I've set myself. It always feels too rigid. But that said, I've decided that it is time to grow up, put on my big boy pants, and stick to a TBR schedule. So this video is actually going to be my way of forcing myself to do that. I can't promise that nothing will come up in my life, and I can't say for sure how long it'll take me to get through each book, so the schedule I'm setting out here might change, but I can promise that I'll try my damnedest to stay faithful to the list itself. I may slip some additional books in as time allows, and I may change the order of the list, but these will be the core books I'm going to read. All right, let's get started with May because we do have another week left of May. So right now I am tackling Disquiet Gods, and I'm having a great time with it so far. This is book 6 in the Sun Eater series, and I've also just started Philip Chase's trilogy, obviously with book 1, The Way of Idan, and then depending on how I feel about the first book, I'll definitely consider adding on books 2 and 3 if I feel like it's working for me. Philip's a great guy, really smart. I've heard wonderful things about this story. I've been wanting to read this work ever since he published this first one, and he's already said that he'd be interested in coming on the channel and talking about it, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. So that takes us to June, and in June I plan on reading The Warrior Prophet. This is book 2 of the Prince of Nothing trilogy by R. Scott Baker, of course. You might remember that I already did a lengthy review of book 1. I loved it. It was really impressive, deeply philosophical, thematically rich, and a really good story at the heart of it. So I'm excited to continue this journey with Kellus and Drusus Acamian and Naor and Esmenet and all these characters as this holy war begins to swell. Up next, I am finally going to do some Philip K. Dick with Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. I really want to make more cyberpunk content, and this one is really worth diving deep into the themes and ideas. I did a chat recently on Christopher Rocchio's channel all about cyberpunk, what it is, the great works of cyberpunk, how we're living in the cyberpunk future these authors predicted. And so I might actually do a review of this book and then maybe even the Blade Runner films. So we'll see. Maybe someone would be willing to come on my channel and maybe read this along with me and talk about the film or films. So if you're interested, let me know in the comments, and that would be really fun. All right, next up in June at number 4, we have Redemption Arc by Alistair Reynolds. This is the British astrophysicist turned sci-fi author. So this is book 2 technically in the Inhibitor sequence, which takes place in the Revelation space universe. So this one will be a reread for me, but it's one I'm really looking forward to because Alistair Reynolds is a genius and nothing really does it for me in sci-fi like Reynolds. Reynolds. So I'm definitely going to do a deep dive on this one, and my hope is to eventually review all of Reynolds' books. So if you like hard sci-fi, space opera, far-flung, big idea sci-fi with great plotting, definitely tune in for that one. Okay, number 5 on this list, and probably the last book for June, is going to be Down Below Station by C.J. Cherryh. So I actually taught this book several years ago in my fantasy and sci-fi literature course, and this book is so incredibly good. It's so well written, guys. It is part of Cherryh's Alliance Union universe. So this is hard science fiction. I would describe it that way. When you read this, though, the main difference is that it kind of feels like you're watching some incredibly gripping episodic ship fleet TV series like Battlestar Galactica or Star Trek or something like that. It's really got that feel to it with everything going on at Pell Station. So it's really interesting. The characters are great. The concepts explored are really fascinating. There's some cool cultural and planetary exploration stuff going on in this one. So I can't wait to get back into this and explore it with you guys. And in fact, there are 27 books in the Alliance Union universe. So I may just go on a journey with C.J. Cherryh. Who knows? All right, moving into July, we have Augustus by John Williams. This is number 6. So this one was recommended to me by Joanna from Joanna Reads, along with Stoner, which I guess is another of John Williams's books. This is an epistolary novel and a work of historical fiction. It's the story of Augustus, obviously the first and most famous emperor of Rome, from his youth through his old age. Apparently, this book is divided into 2 parts. The beginning chronicles his rise to power, and the latter portions describe, his power and his familial problems and choosing a successor and stuff like that. This book, as you can see, won a National Book Award for fiction in 1973. And as I said, the story is told through letters written by the people around him, apparently. And so that's kind of cool because this is how history is recorded anyways. So should be a really interesting experience. So, all right. Up at number 7 is A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons. This here is the Feast for Crows Folio Society edition. So as you know, if you've been following this channel, we've been moving our way through Song of Ice and Fire with a segment that I've been calling Knights of the Mind. So far, we've discussed Fire and Blood, A Game of Thrones, A Clash of Kings, and A Storm of Swords. And so you can check out the playlist on that. This summer, I definitely want to review A Feast for Crows and Dance with Dragons. Song of Ice and Fire is my favorite modern fantasy series, and Storm of Swords is my favorite fantasy novel of the 21st century. So that should be a really fun time keeping that series going, and hopefully one day George gives us more books. All right, and number 8, this is 1939's The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. So I've been wanting to get more into the noir detective stuff for years, and of course, The Big Sleep, I've been told, is a really good place to start. This is the first of his novels to feature the detective, Philip Marlowe. I have an English teacher friend who loves Chandler. The mystery novelist, screenwriter, and now pundit, Andrew Klavan, said that this book also changed his life. The story is set in Los Angeles, and it's apparently very complex with twists and secrets and characters double-crossing one another, and so this is definitely an all-time great. The book was featured in Time Magazine's list of the 100 best novels, and so I'm really excited for some LA Nights and some gritty noir. I need it. I've got to have it. And okay, number 9, we have Taliesin by Stephen Lawhead. So this is book 1 of the Pendragon cycle, which is a historical fantasy series based on the Arthurian legends. And so book 1 takes place in sub-Roman Britain, which is the time between the fall of Rome and Britain, the Saxon conquest of Britain, that is. So it's a period we don't know an awful lot about because it's the period from which Arthurian lore stems. So this isn't a French-influenced, chivalric Arthurian tale. It doesn't take place in the High Middle Ages like some of the later Arthurian stories do. It places Arthur more in his historical context. If there was an Arthur, this is when he would have been, and this would have been the context of his life. So it's really the origin story of that. I guess Book 1 apparently explores the fall of Atlantis. Remember, this is a fantasy novel, and so it's about the discovery of Taliesin as a druidic bard, the Lady of the Lake, Morgaine, Merlin, all of that good stuff spun into a compelling fantasy tale. And by the way, there is a series that's currently under production that's being made of the Pendragon cycle that I am very much looking forward to, and so I'm hoping to read this before that comes out so that maybe I can do kind of a comparative analysis with the new show that's coming out. All right, so that's July, and we move into August with R. Scott Baker's The Thousandfold Thought. This is obviously book 3 of the Prince of Nothing trilogy. I know many of you have been asking. You saw my review of book 1. When are you going to get to the second book? When are you going to review the full trilogy? When are you going to move on to his other books? Well, you have your answer now. That will be in August, and I promise I won't deviate from that. Up next at number 11, we have Middlemarch by George Eliot, aka Mary Ann Evans. This is the gorgeous acid-free paper Folio Society edition, illustrated classic. Let's see if we can get one of these here for you. All right. Just beautiful. So again, I've never read Middlemarch. I know that it is a tale of idealism and human folly and disillusionment and frustrated love. This is apparently a very highly textured and penetrating analysis of the life of an English provincial town during a time of great social unrest. It's told through the lives of Dorothea Brooke, Dr. Tertius Lydgate, and this is mid-19th century, so this is one of my favorite time periods to read about. Anyhow, this book is frequently called the greatest English novel ever written. I don't know how it could be possible to name one book the greatest English novel, but it is universally hailed, ask anyone, as one of the greatest English language novels. And it features apparently one of the most disastrous marriages in all of literature. And I'm told this is the marriage between Dorothea Brooks and Edward Casaubon. Brooks is a young girl in provincial Britain in a country town. She burns with idealistic fire. She wants to live her life according to theories that will help her make sense of the universe. She wants to do good in life. She wants to pursue a life of the mind. She feels an eros for knowledge. And she marries this older guy, apparently, Edward Casaubon, and the marriage goes to hell. Again, I've never read this book. I just watched a review, and so now I'm getting all excited. She had an amazing ability, apparently, to lacerate human folly, and she apparently is just a brilliant, scintillatingly brilliant writer. I actually read a long passage from this book when I was taking my GRE exam. That's the exam you have to take to get into grad school, and I just knew right then, it was so gorgeous, I knew that one day I would read this book, and so I bought the Folio Society edition, and I can't wait to get to this. Up at number 12, we have... I just put more Michael Crichton, and I basically put that because I've read Jurassic Park, I've read Jurassic, The Lost World, the second book, and I've read Sphere, but I haven't read anything else by Crichton. So I'm leaving this one blank, and maybe you big Michael Crichton fans could tell me in the comments section what I should do next, where I should go next with Crichton. So again, I've read the first Jurassic Park, the second Jurassic Park, and Sphere, and so I'm hoping folks can tell me in the comments section, or maybe I'll turn it into a YouTube poll, what I should read next, and I will respect the winning results, and I'll read whatever you guys tell me to. So I don't know if I have to make a poll, or if you guys just want to let me know in the comments, but I'm really looking forward to that, because so far, Crichton's just been excellent. Jurassic Park, obviously a classic. The sequel, not as good, but still okay. And Sphere was spectacular. It's exactly the kind of sci-fi that I love. So let me know, and I promise to honor the results. Up at number 13, we have Hyperion by Dan Simmons. I'm reading this simply because people keep recommending this book to me over and over again. I can't tell you how many videos I've made where this one comes up in the comment section. I'm a big sci-fi fan, and I just keep hearing great things about the way this is written. I'm friends with the author on Facebook, so I like the guy personally and the stuff that he posts, but I've never read a word of Dan Simmons. People keep telling me Hyperion is like sci-fi Canterbury Tales, so that should be really fun. Okay, number 14, speaking of Canterbury Tales, I'm actually teaching that for the first time in my career this fall. So I thought, why not read Chaucer's Canterbury Tales at the same time I'm reading Hyperion? It could make for some interesting parallels, some Middle English fun with the miller and the knight and the wife of Bath. I am very much looking forward to it, and I will review it for you guys. If I'm being honest, I think that's probably all I'm going to be able to squeeze in this summer. I am just trying to be realistic. We have AP Canavan making edits on our novel right now. He plans to be done with that in June, and so these are some really big books I have on my plate here. As you can see, I'm teaching Paradise Lost in October, so I have to read that one for work. So I'm sure I'll review that this fall on the channel. Now I'm just going to, I guess, list out my fall schedule here without commentary, because now we are really getting ahead of ourselves. So in September, I plan to read, as I said, Milton's Paradise Lost, Alastair Reynolds' House of Sons, and Blind Sight by Peter Watts. That's another one that people keep recommending to me because of my interest in philosophy. In October, I am going to try to review Alastair Reynolds' Absolution Gap. This is book 3 in the Revelation Space series. And then I'll probably review a really good horror novel as well. Maybe The Terror by Dan Simmons, if I like Hyperion. And I was thinking maybe also something by Cormac McCarthy, maybe Child of God or Outer Dark. Maybe I'll do The Crossing, which is the sequel to All the Pretty Horses. I really would like to start reviewing Westerns on here as well. In November, I'm planning on doing Aztec by Gary Jennings, and possibly The Count of Monte Cristo by the great Alexander Dumas. My wife read that one and she says it's spectacular. In December, I want to read Patricia Highsmith's The Talented Mr. Ripley, Alex Garland's The Beach, and also a book called Raptor Red by Robert T. Baker. Anyways, that stuff is definitely a ways away, and I am getting ahead of myself. So for right now, that is the list. That's what it's going to be. I will read these novels 100%. You have my word. I may add some others in. If you want to suggest some books, I'd be happy to hear about it. So I can't promise I'll read these books in exactly the order I've laid them out here. As I said, I may move some things around a little bit, but I do promise I will stick to this list and stay focused on it and do my best. Again, for my constant viewers, please recommend any books you think I should add to the list. I've tried to leave some wiggle room for late additions. I'd love to hear some first contact recommendations, some adventure novel recommendations. So let me know, guys, and I'll be interested to consider anything you put out there. And until next time, happy reading.